Good afternoon, grade 12 learners, or if you are a grade 11 learner, you are welcome to watch this video. I believe this is relevant to your curriculum, and yeah, this is one of the questions where many students they don't like these questions, and these questions, they are not bad, and I guarantee you that you will find it in your final examination. This question will be there. You will never run away from it. Sometimes it is 2 marks, sometimes it is 1 mark. And I saw many mistakes or I had many complaints from the students that I teach. They say they don't understand these types of questions, and I'm gonna explain a few of them, or if I can explain all of them. It doesn't matter, but this question here, I guarantee it is gonna be there in your final exam. If you write your final exam and don't see this type of question, then you've wrote a wrong paper. And we don't want to write a wrong paper. So let's start here. When they say, they will give you actually 2 graphs or 1 graph and ask you a question based on that graph here. They will say, for which values of x is f of x greater than or equals to 0? We want to know the values of x. Let's say f of x here is this type of graph here. We have, I'm just gonna do a rough sketch. I hope you're the patient type, because I'm not the best in drawings, I'm not the best in drawings, but let's pretend that this is a parable. Yeah, we're just pretending, let's say the point here is 8, and let's say the point here is -3 and 0. And they ask you, for which values of x is f of x lying above 0 or is equals to 0? We know that f of x is equals to 0 at -3 and 8, and it is only above 0. When we are talking about 0, we are talking about this line of x-axis here. It is above 0 when x is less than -3 or when x is greater than 8. This is where this graph lies above 0. And then, for which values of x is f of x below 0 or equals to 0? You are gonna say f of x is only below 0 from -3 to 8. It is only, we are talking about this portion here. It's below 0 when x is between -3 and 8. And I believe you get the idea of this type of question. They are not that bad. They just want you to look at the sketch and answer questions looking at that sketch. And here, obviously, they're going to give you 2 graphs. They're going to say, for which values of x is f of x greater than g of x? They normally ask these questions in trigonometric functions, which I think we will tackle it in the next upcoming videos. I will be uploading at least 10 videos a day to make up for the time lost, because I ordered a camera 3 weeks ago and it arrived yesterday. So I'm gonna at least drop 10 videos a day to make up for the time lost. And I want to make sure that you go into the exam knowing that you have maybe 70% or 80% in your hands. And we're gonna skip this for now. We're gonna skip for now. For now, we're gonna skip it. This one here, for which, let's say here we introduce a straight line that passes here. We introduce a straight line that passes here. We call it g of x, and we call this f of x. This is a straight line, and they ask us for which values of x is f of x times g of x greater than 0. Like, you don't want to take those equations and multiply them together and solve for x. Like, it will take you a lot of time, and it's only 1 mark, or it's only 2 marks, so you may end up losing so much time on things that you may just look at and answer. So for this question here, for this D here, the only let's do it here. Let's say this is F, and let's say this is G times G. Let me put another box here. Let me put a times sign here. F of x times G of x, we are looking at the y values here, that when we multiply them together, they must be greater than 0. If we multiply a positive by a positive, it will give us a value that is greater than 0. And if we multiply I'm sure you guessed it right now, if you multiply a negative by a negative, we will get values that are greater than 0, because negative times negative is positive. So we want the values of y, where both the values of x, where both these graphs have positive y values. They only have positive y values when x, they both have positive y values when x is less than minus 3 here. Only when x is less than minus 3, that means all x values go in this direction up to negative infinity, we will get, when we multiply these functions together, we will get values that are greater than 0. And someone might ask, if we say x is greater than 8, remember, if x is greater than 8, this will be positive, but this will be negative, so it won't work, for this type of problem. So that's why we take all values that are less than negative 3. Because here, if you put minus 4 into this equation, you get a positive value, and if you put minus let's say, if you put minus 4 into this equation, you'll get a positive value. Hence, you will satisfy this condition here. Again, here at this point here, but I don't think it's gonna work, because he's gonna be negative, but he's gonna be positive. So when x is less than minus 3, I think it is the only solution for this that satisfies this here. So for D here, f of x times g of x is greater than or equals to 0. That's why you include this here. You include negative 3 here. If they say greater than 0, you don't include minus 3 here. I hope that is clear. And then we are on E here. The values of x, for which values of x is f of x times g of x less than or equals to 0. It is only possible if I'm explaining this here. Let me start here first, and then I'll go here. It is only possible for this to be less than 0 if we have a negative times a positive, or a positive times a negative, because they will give us a negative. We want to look for values of x where f of x is having negative y values while g of x is having positive y values. Let's look at the first condition here. Negative times positive. Negative values of f is between here, and the positive values of x is also between here. So if we put in values that are like, let's say, values that are between negative 3 and 8, between, that means x is between -3 and 8. If you put values of these values here, we will get a negative value. And then what other conditions? Let's look for the y values, the x values, where f of x has positive y values and g of x has negative y values. If we put values that are greater than 8, f of x will be positive and g of x will be negative. So again, you can say x is greater than 8 here. And then what do I want to say? Yeah, I'm going back to this now, to this. For this to be true, remember there's an equal sign here, for which values of x is f of x times g of x less than or equals to 0. This is only possible where the one function is 0 times a positive, times any number, can be positive or negative, because 0 times anything is just 0. Or when one function is 0 and the other is a real number, because 0 times any number is just 0. So here, when we're looking at this sketch here, for which values of x is f of x times g of x less than or equals to 0? And we can see here, when x is greater than or equals to 8, because if we put 8 here, it will be 0, and 0 times anything will be 0. And also here, if we put 0 into this equation, it will give us if we times 0 by the other y value, it will also give us 0. I believe you can understand here. And then for which values of x is f of x over g of x greater than 0? Here you only need y values of x. Y values of f of x, it is only possible if we have negative values of f of x over negative values of g of x. And then let's look at our diagram here. Or let's put the other condition, or we can have both being positive like here. And then let's look where both are negative. They are both negative where there's no way they are both positive, and there's no way where they are both negative, but there's a way, or there's a way they are both positive, like here. Values that are less than -3, they are both positive here. So if you put all values that are less than -3, it will satisfy here, and it will satisfy this condition here. And then I think we will do others in the next example. So I'll see you in the next example. Let's turn over to another page. Let's do this together, and I hope by the end of this you will have a clear understanding on how to answer these questions. It says, given that f of x is this and g of x is minus x plus 6, for which values of x is f of x greater than 0? Remember that this is f of x. It is only greater than 0 when x is less than -1, because if you put in values less than -1, like -3, we'll get a positive value here. And then it is also greater than 0 when x is greater than 6 here. If x is greater than 6, then we will have positive values, positive y values there. Don't forget to put or here. Or number 2, it says for which values of x is f of x less than 0. It is only less than 0 between -1 and 6. So to answer this, you're gonna say -1 is less than x is less than 6. So it's between x is between -1 and 6. They want this portion here, where if you put in values that are between -1 and 6, you will get a negative y value. And most students like multiplying this and take a lot of time, and when you realize it's only a 1 mark question, because they require you to analyze the sketches that they gave you and present your answers based on them. And number C, or 1.3, for which values of x is f of x times g of x less than 0. Remember those conditions. So for this to be less than 0, one function has to be negative while the other has to be positive, or the other can be positive and the other can be negative. Let's analyze the first condition, which is this, based on our sketch here. We want where the y values of f are negative while the y values of g are positive. So where is it here? Here they're both positive. Here this one is negative, and this one is positive, and this one is negative. So when x, I think it is satisfied the second condition here. So to answer this question, you can say x is between -1 and 6. X is between -1 and 6. I forgot this sign here. X is between -1 and 6, like this. And another I don't think this condition qualifies here. This condition, I don't think it qualifies for this sketch, because when f of x is negative, this is positive, and when f of x is negative, like here, this is positive, and when it is positive, here, yeah, I think, yeah, it qualifies. And when also x is greater than 6, because when x is greater than 6, this will have positive y values and this will have negative y values. So these are your answers here. You can say x is between -1 and 6, or x is greater than 6. This is actually 3 marks or 2 marks. Let's move on. For which values of x is f of x over g of x equals to 0? This is only possible if f of x is 0 and g of x is not equals to 0. So to answer this question, we are going to give the roots of this f of x, because when f of x is equals to -1, then f of x is 0, and 0 divided by anything, it is just 0. And x is equals to 6, because if we put 6 in the equation, we will get a 0, and 0 divided by anything, it will be 0. This is how you answer 1.4. And 1.5, for which values of x is f of x times g of x greater than or equals to 0? One function here has to be 0, and the other function can be anything, can be either positive or negative, or can be vice versa, vice versa. Times 0. We want where is it? Greater than 0. Okay. We want where f of x is equals to 0. Of course, is when x is equals to 0. When x is equals to -1, or when x is equals to 6. So to answer this question, we can say x is greater than or equals to 6, yes, or x is less than or equals to -1, like this. And then let's look for where g of x is 0. So g of x is 0 here. If g of x is 0 and 0 times f of x, it will be 0. And let's find the y-intercept of here. If you put 0 here, we'll get that this is 0 and 6. If you don't understand what I'm doing, that means you haven't watched my previous videos. I suggest you do that so that you understand how to do the y-intercept and the x-intercepts of any function. And then I think this is the answer for this question here. When x is greater than or equals to 6, or when x is less than or equals to -1, and then when x is greater than or equals to 0, like this here. And to present these answers very well, I will I believe this is it. This video was helpful, and I will try to rewatch it again to see where I made mistakes, and where I made mistakes or where you have realized mistakes, I will make sure you comment down in the comment section, and I will pin your comment so that others can see and avoid that mistake. Because but I believe everything we did here was fine, and I will see you in my next videos. But I believe after this you have seen how to answer these questions, and I will see you in the next videos. Bye.